You?
Hey, David. Thanks for
We're,
having me.
I'm glad you're here. We're going to let people find us. I'm even going to look to see if I can find us. I'll try to multitask, which I'm not great at, but I want to just make sure we're here and see if people are popping in and all that good stuff. You're in Florida, right?
I am in steamy, stinking hot
I
Florida.
was just going to ask you what the weather's like there, so that's kind of a very descriptive.
It has been a couple days ago, it was 95. Now,
Wow.
I totally understand that the flip side to that, I'm usually like glass half full kind of girl, but it's April.
Right.
And yesterday was my birthday.
Oh, I
And
know, I know. I was going to get to that.
yet another circle around the sun, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll just hang out in the yard with my golden retriever for a little bit. It was hot. Like yesterday, I think it was 85 or something, but earlier in the week it was 95. Like, oh my
Wow.
gosh.
I like that. Another circle around the sun.
Totally. So somebody asked me and said, oh, I'm so sorry about, your birthday and coronavirus and must be so sad. I said, are you kidding? I've had so many other birthdays that have been great. If this one is kind of a lackluster, stay at home kind of thing,
Right.
so be it. It's all right. I'm an
Yeah.
April baby. We'll make up for it next year.
Yeah. I have a mixture of things on that. On one hand, birthdays I really want to celebrate and acknowledge because I appreciate them more.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it feels like it's another day.
Yeah, right.
So, it's that mixture.
I'm with you.
Let's see. Sharon's here from Connecticut. Hey, Tracy from Southern California. Shirley says it's freezing cold in PA, Pennsylvania. We had snow yesterday.
What?
Betty from Ohio.
Oh my word.
Kanoko. Hello, David and Diane. Thank you both for being here. And he says, happy belated birthday, Diane.
Thank you.
And Carlos from Georgia. Welcome, everyone.
Hello. I love these.
Linda from Northern California. All right, Carolee, this one's going to be tough for me. Conshohocken, Pennsylvania.
Concha.
I hope I did that right. Brenda's from Orangevale, California. Very good. Good to see everyone coming on tonight. I'm so glad you're all here. Hey, Katie. Where's Katie from? Hey, Dixie from Ohio. Here's Judy from Minnesota. She says she's watching the ice go out on our lake.
Oh my gosh. Poor people.
Oh, Sherry said we had snow in Connecticut too.
Oh my gosh.
Andrea from Tennessee. Oh, Carolee's laughing at my pronunciation. Sorry. I'm really bad at them.
It's hard though. You don't know.
I'm glad you're all finding your way here. Welcome, welcome. So for those of you who might be joining us for the first time, just to let you know, we do these every night. We do them at 5 or 6 p.m. depending on the day, and who's volunteering to be our wonderful guest. And those are at either then 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern time, depending on where you are. So we do these every night, myself and a guest. Then during the day at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern, I take on a topic every day. So we know that so many people can't go to their grief groups or have had a loss and they're alone, and grief is isolating on a good day. So this is really about us coming together and connecting. I know many of you watch these in the replay. In fact, I think most of you I see watch them in the replay. And it's great because then you can watch them and, rewind something if you need to. So that's how these work. And I'm only on here 2 hours a day. The other 22 hours, it's a support group where you are supporting one another and using your words. We said that, you're welcome to put up a picture once of your loved one because we want to see and know who they are if you want to share them. And then we ask that you use words here. We don't want to fill the feed up with memes. if a meme or a quote strikes you, instead write us and tell us why it connects so much, how that quote connects. So one of the things we do early on is we're all here because someone we love who is dear to us died. So I always like to take a moment of silence just to connect and send that person love, whether they live in the afterlife, heaven, your heart, whatever you may believe. So if you'll join me in doing that real quick. Thank you for doing that, everyone. Hey, Robin from New York, Abigail from California. Shannon says she refers back to the videos. Uh, we've got someone from the Philippines. Welcome. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. So lots of people coming in tonight. I just love that. And so tonight, it's really an honor for me to have Dianne here. Dianne and I have been friends for years. We know each other through the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross Foundation. And I knew Dianne as a hospice leader, palliative care leader, and I knew her as a bereaved mom. I then went through the death of my own son. And one of the things I share in my book that I share at a lot of lectures is it was just a day. I was in so much pain and I was in so much darkness. And Dianne called me and she said to me, I know you're drowning. And she said, you will be drowning for a while. And she said, at some point, you are going to hit bottom. And when you hit bottom, you will have a decision to make. Do you stay there or do you swim again? And she said, I know that's not anything on your mind now. I just wanted to tell you that. And Dianne, it so planted a seed in me that I think shifted me probably for the rest of my life. Just that idea that there was a decision to be made at some point, and to know that in my darkness. And it just made all the difference in the world to me. So you are always so dear to me for saying that.
Thank you.
So tell us, how did you come into this world that all of us are now in here as we deal with grief and loss?
Well, a lot of people think that because they've read my story in different books and magazines and textbooks that I've written, things like that, that it's because of the death of my son. His name was Austin. And when Austin was 5, he was diagnosed with a rare neurodegenerative disease. And right before that, meaning a month before that, my marriage fell apart. Everything fell apart. So I was no longer working, marriage fell apart, son was diagnosed, and they told us he was going to go blind. And then they said, no, he's going to actually die because he has a neurological disorder. And then they said, well, he's going to live for 2 years. And then I got a letter from a physician who said, I'm sure by the time you get this, your son will have died. He didn't. He lived for 10 more years. But the thing was, he suffered. And he suffered in extraordinary pain because while the body is trying to die, it also fights to live. And so a lot of people think that the hard part was that Austin died, and it is that he died, but it's also that he suffered profound, deep, horrible suffering, the likes of which most doctors have told me they don't ever want another kid with this disease ever in their careers. It was that bad. So, but that really wasn't my first entree into this whole grief space. I was 32, I think, when Austin was diagnosed, and you know, just it was really tough going. But my entree into grief was that my dad died when I was 9 of a heart attack, and he was 39. And the last day I saw him was Christmas Day. truth of the
Well,
matter. So it was ironic. My parents were separated, and my dad came to visit us Christmas Day. And this thing happened, David, this intuition, this like ding, like even at 9 years old, go say goodbye. And I looked at my brother and I said, hey, do you want to go tell daddy goodbye? And I picked up my great Christmas present from him. It was a pendant necklace. I don't know. Anyway, ran downstairs and I don't even understand it, but I said, Daddy, I love you, on his car window. I love you. And he rolled his window down and he said, honey, I love you too. Thank you. That means a lot to me. And he backed off in his car and left. And that was the last time I saw him because he had a heart attack. So I came into this from two ways: sudden loss, which means here today, gone tomorrow, unexpected. And then I miscarried a lot. And then had this child who was sick for so long, for 12 years before he died, a horrible death. And beautiful death in the moment, but horrible life experience from suffering. So that's kind of how I ended up here. But I studied Elizabeth Kubler-Ross in college and studied sports medicine and sports management. And ironically, this is crazy, ironically, didn't like much else in medicine except neurology. And I ended up with a kid with a rare neurological disorder 10 years later. So yeah, hold on. That's my dog chewing my light cord. You see that? Abby. Thanks.
yep, that's how those dogs are.
Good Lord. I have a golden retriever puppy, so just forgive me in advance if she
There is
barks.
nothing to forgive you for. Nothing to
Anyway,
forgive you for.
so that's how I ended up in the space. And I'm honored to be here with you guys tonight. You know why? Because we're amongst friends. Like there's no worse, no better. No, we're all here on a Saturday night. So thank you.
You're welcome. Tell me, I've never asked you, where did that conversation that you had with me come from? Is that from your own experience about the sink or swim?
Yeah, yes, actually. Well, two things. So long before my son died, I was already doing foundation work and starting foundations and doing hospice and palliative care work all over the world for people whose kids had the same disease as my son. But even as far back in college, I'd been working with people who were dying and seriously ill. Oh my gosh, my puppy. She's just going to make sure. Honey, are you okay? She got scared. So anyway,
What's her name?
Abby. Abby is
Abby. It's
about.
okay, Abby.
It's okay, Ab.
It's
It's all
okay,
right,
Abby.
girlfriend. Come here. Come here, honey. Come here. Sorry,
It's
guys.
okay.
Anyway, so what happened was a woman wrote me, and she said to me when Austin was so sick, and she wrote me and said, Dianne, her son had just died, and she said, I feel like I'm breathing in water.
Hmm.
I'm so sad. I'm drowning. I'm drowning. I'm breathing in water. And I thought about it, and that was her. I remember her to this day. And she said that was the equivalent of living without her son. And then one day it came to me, and I was in Arizona, and we had a pool behind the house. And I remember the feeling of swimming to the bottom of the pool and feeling so sad, David, like so sad. I thought for a moment that I could just stay there. And I had to make that decision. And innately, I put my feet on the bottom by the pool drain and pushed up. And I was shocked that that was the instinctive behavior versus staying there. It was like, no. And as I was getting ready to break the surface, it was, I chose this. I chose to live another day. I chose. Not that I ever had suicidal ideations. There's a big difference between what I was feeling in terms of sadness and pondering suicide. This was, I'm so sad, I feel like I might die. That's what that feeling is.
Right.
So, but instinctively, I put my feet down, and as I broke the surface, it was like that beautiful gasp of air. was like, I got this. I'm going to have to make a series of decisions over and over and over again. And that's what grief is. Millions of little decisions about life.
I
And
love
people don't tell us that.
I love
But
that.
that's kind of what it is. Am I
Right.
going to eat healthy today, or am I going to eat junk and succumb to my, my sadness? I've done both. Am I
Right.
going to exercise today and snap out of this funk, or am I going to just wallow with my pillow and my blankie? And I've done that too.
Right. I see we have people here from all over Australia, many different
Oh,
places.
hi.
It's cute. Someone says, David, you look distracted. Yeah, I have my phone down here that I have to look at the phone to see comments and what's going on. So I'm not distracted. I'm just a bad multitasker. Um, so Nicole, that's what you're seeing is
So I'll,
I'm
t-
trying
I'll tell you, I'll
to
tell you,
multitask.
yeah, I'll tell you guys what I was telling David before we went live. I said, I have an Australian Siri. So I used to work for Olivia Newton-John for a couple years, and she's a dear friend of mine. So during that time, I changed my Siri to an Australian guy. And, but every now and then I was texting or saying something today, and my Australian Siri typed in, I want Oreos. So I don't know.
Yeah, between Siri and autocorrect. I mean, once in a while, I use the word, I can't even do it because something will happen. I use the word HEY.
Oh,
If I say it out loud, this one will start talking. Um, so Diane, let
yeah,
me ask you this, if we can just dig into this a little bit.
please.
There's a number of parents, and this is just isn't people who have a child die. I think people in grief, but a lot of parents will verbalize this.
Hmm.
That happiness, life again, living again, it's just not possible after a child dies. So, I look at you, I see a great love for Austin.
Mm-hmm.
I see a grief that never ends, that's full of love. And I see life and I see happiness. How is that? How do we find it? How do people find that? And how do we, in our own time, in our own way, find that? Is it possible for me to push off and swim again? How did you do that? How any suggestions you have?
I'm going to be really honest. I mean, that's my thing. In this field, people know I am like brutally honest. I don't sugarcoat stuff. I'm going to tell you guys, it was 1 hour at a time for
Right.
ages. And then I would look back in the rearview mirror and I was like, huh, 5 months went by of 1 hour at a time. So the way though that I navigated it, and I'll tell you, like brutally honest, I traveled until I pinched my budget until I woke up. I mean, travel was my escape mechanism for a while. Thank goodness it's not that right now, right? I mean, um, but I was friends with a glass of wine, not three, just because my frame, that would make me sick, but glass of wine, cookies. I gained a couple pounds. I lost a couple pounds. I exercised. I wrote. I journaled. In fact, I'll show you guys. My thing for journaling is so important to me that somebody that was near to my heart gave me this journal, and I still
Oh,
have it. Yeah.
beautiful.
And it means the world to me. It's one of my most cherished possessions. So I journaled, I danced, I listened to music. So until when I hit my first, like, I got this space. Imagine my shock when grief came back around. And for those of you who watch sports, it clipped me in the back of the knees one day. I started crying over some song that I heard on the radio and it out of nowhere, and it shocked me. So what I've come to understand is to be a lot nicer to myself. And For me, the word is grace. I started treating myself like I treat other people. And that took some doing. It took some time to say, well, wait a minute. If I just do this one little thing, like put one of those paper masks on my face,
Right, right,
I'm going to feel just a little better. Or if I'm going to go for a bike ride for 15, 20 minutes, I'm going to feel a little better. Like I would do anything to kind of like snap the rubber band on my wrist, but I tried to do things that were healthy. Like I have little bottles of lavender oil and I carried those with me in my purse when that feeling started to come. Just I call them disruptors. So in the positive sense. I would breathe that in and it would change my mindset. Whatever I needed to do until that became the habit. And it can become a positive habit to have your own little toolkit,
right.
exercise, lavender oil, whatever. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And I think, you know, this is the place that I think, and you can agree or disagree. I think this is the place we're all in agreement. There's no timeline in grief. Time is a factor.
Hmm.
If someone I think says to you or I'm never going to live again. I will never be happy again. And they're at 3 months. We're going to go, of course you feel that way. If someone's at 4 years and says there's no happiness possible, it's a different story. If they're like, there is no moment of happiness ever possible for me, it is hopeless since my child died. Any words of wisdom you would say to that person? Or what would you say to that person? A bereaved parent calls you and says, look, it's been 5 years. I can't, I'm alive, but there's no living.
Right. So I get those calls all the time. So
Well,
for those of
I
you,
know you do. That's why I'm giving you this.
yeah,
Because
for those of you
it's
that
you.
don't know, so while I'm on the board of directors for the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross Foundation, I'm the person with the foundation that gets all the one-to-one patients, the people that reach out. And then I'm also a grief and a death doula. So I help people die, and then I help them. I stay with them, continue onward for a couple months, and I help them find resources and boots on the ground to help them, because I do believe in counseling. I do believe in great. I don't even like the word therapy, but in great grief counseling, but or coaching or mentoring or friends, whatever. So that's what I do. So I work with a lot of people. So I get that call, and here's the thing. First of all, to you guys as a group, I would like to say this, and I'm so glad you brought this up, David. When any one of us is bereaved, be careful what you read. Be careful what you read. Always use critical thinking. And here's why. If you read from someone and it says, I'm never going to be happy again, never, ever, 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 if especially it's online or in a magazine article, the thing is you don't have the ability to ask that person, well, how long ago was it since the death of your child, parent, husband, whatever? Say 3 weeks. My heart aches for both the reader and the person who made that quote, because I have been that person. Somebody asked me, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm not getting up off the sidewalk for the rest of my life. Just leave me alone. But to the person that's been years and they feel stuck or they feel like they're never going to be happy, I would say it's time to look at a couple things. One, your exercise habits. What are you eating? What are you drinking? What are you doing in terms of exercise? It's behavior, your behaviors. Second of all, who's in your tribe of friends? Do you have people who are like, oh, you're right, you're never going to be happy? Well, that doesn't help. Okay, we need somebody sometimes to go, you know, you're going to get through this. What are you reading? Start reading some things that are going to help you feel better. You know what makes you feel better. and it's different for every person. And then to seek out some really good grief counseling. And I have heard the gamut. I went to 3 people, I didn't like them. Well, maybe number 4 you would have. So don't give up on it. Just keep going. And there's so many great online resources right now. I would say keep at it, and don't give up. Uh, Gloria Horsley from the Open to Hope Foundation is,
Heidi was on the other day, who's a friend of yours.
yes, Heidi's like my sister, and Gloria is my second mother. So funny story really quickly. Gloria used to call me on Sunday nights at 9:30 Eastern. She was on the West Coast in California. And it kind of used to just, excuse my language, piss me off. Because on Sunday, I was unhappy. I noticed, I don't know if you guys, in fact, I'd like to hear the comments on this. On Sundays, I was a miserable mess. I used to pick fights. I was cranky. I was angry. Because when I was raised, Sunday was family day, and suddenly somebody
Wow.
was missing from my family.
Right. Interesting.
I didn't understand it, but Gloria did. And Gloria used to call me on Sunday night until she said to me, "This is your family day. I'm calling you because this is your family day, and I want you to know you're not alone."
Wow.
Find your person that you can ask to call you on whatever your day is of the week, and just have them call you or be with you, something, so that you're not alone. And that's why this group is so great, David.
You know, that's why what you said to me I thought was so profound, because I think it's 2 things. I think it's exactly what you said. Who's in your tribe? Are you exercising? Are you whatever, walking, breathing, changing, having some disruptors, pattern changers, whatever we may call them? And are you willing to live again? Like, can you make a decision for that? Can you try it on for the next 5 minutes?
Yeah.
You know, I was talking to a dear person to me, died at 43 years old. And I was talking to her son, who I think was like 17. And I said to her son, "Do you know what I do?" And he goes, "Yeah, you write books on grief." And I said, "You know," I'm talking to like a 16, 17-year-old boy. I said, "You know, it's okay for you to cry and be sad." And he goes, "Okay." He said, "Can I ask you a question?" And I said, "Sure." And he goes, "Is it still okay for me to be happy?"
Oh.
And I think, don't we all wrestle with that? Don't we all wrestle with, is it still okay for me to be happy?
I remember the first time I laughed out loud, like a guttural laugh, after Austin died. It was 3 years after he died. And I mean a real belly laugh. I looked around, like, where did that come from? Because for sure that didn't come from me. And then I felt this weird, odd disassociation with my body, and disassociated from my son. And then I just realized there's not one part of him that would want me to be miserable. Not one. And on top of it, every dying person I've ever been with, they don't want, even if they couldn't stand the person before they died, they were really willing to let that go, and they just wanted everybody to be happy and
Right.
peaceful.
Jeannie, you said, Jeannie commented, "I am almost 6 years since my daughter died, and I'm feeling very much like you described, David." So I'm just curious, Jeannie, if you'd be willing to tell us a little more about what you're feeling there. Jeannie says, "I think for me, I've been so alone in my grief." So I'd want to know a little more, Jeannie. I'm curious, you know, and is this group or anything else you're doing helping? Because I think if you can sometimes just acknowledge, you know, I'm so alone, but right now I'm okay. Like, give yourself just a minute to actually admit, oh, for this second, I'm okay. I think that stuff is sometimes helpful.
Totally. And I would say the fact that here you are, a part of this group saying, I feel alone, but at this minute mark, you're not alone,
Right.
you
Right.
know? And I know this is a little outside the box thinking for some people, but I wanted to share this with you guys kind of to be expansive in our mindset. So for those of us that believe that our loved ones are somewhere else and are connected to us, right? Some people do and some people don't. And there's not a right or wrong. But for those people who believe that their loved ones are still connected in some way, you know, via signs or symbols or connection or whatever that looks like, we're never alone. We're never, we're never alone. It's just that our fathers and our mothers passed on before us, and they are still a part of our lives. The wisdom that they taught us is still a part of our lives. The joy from our children, still a part of our lives. And I want to share some research real quick with you that it shows that a large percentage of the cells of the children that we gave birth to is still within us as mothers. Sorry to you dads out there, but but it's true. Even now, I have my son's cells within me. Isn't that crazy? Like I read it a few years ago, and it's science.
Right.
So we are separate, but we're kind of not.
Right. Yeah, you know, when I talked about this in the Finding Meaning, you know, the idea that for me, when someone dies, we always say, a part of me died with them. And I'll go, yes, but a part of them lives on in you.
Yeah,
How can you nurture that?
yeah.
How can you grow that part?
You know, that's so true and that took work. So on the 10th anniversary of my son's death, some friends called and said, oh, let's get together and have a little party and, you know, celebrate Austin. I was like, the last thing, I mean, I wouldn't say this out there, but the last thing I wanted was a party, like no stinking way. So what I did was I looked at Austin, all of the things that Austin is and was. So Austin loved to plant. He liked to garden. He loved Africa. My daughter came out of the womb doing projects for India. Her whole elementary years, Austin liked Africa. Austin had a soft spot for children that were abandoned. So through one connection and then the next, and some of it was, you know, synchronicity or meant to be. I ended up building a Austin's Kitchen Garden at an orphanage in Kenya. It feeds 47 children. We crowdfunded for it. Has 6 crops, 47 children in Kenya. And now there's a sign with my son's name on it that I didn't make. These kids made it. So a part of Austin lives on, and organically too, if you think about it, feeding those children, we grow the crops that feed these children. And he is a part of their lives, and they're a part of his life, and they know him and they know his story. So I would say too, through advocacy, you know, whether your thing is baking bread or doing art or making music or something associated with your child or your loved one, advocacy and helping other people is this energy that helped to pull me out of my own, get me out of my own way, quite honestly, sometimes. So advocacy helped quite a bit.
So Bobby says here, I'm alone and non-religious and have to leave most groups because they are so religious. Every comment is about prayers in heaven, so I continue to stay isolated. You know, Bobby, one of the things that I think connects us in grief is all of us get words of comfort from people that don't resonate with us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, isn't that true? Whether we're religious and they're not, or they're not and we are, or they just say something stupid. I mean, I think we all have to deal with comfort sometimes that we're like, I know you meant to comfort me, but ugh. I mean, don't we all, Diane?
Oh,
And so,
totally. Totally. And I'm going to use this word, and it's some people use it in the religious context to this person. I'm not using it in a religious context. I'm using it in the context of it's in the dictionary this way, and it's called grace. Okay? I'm not talking about grace in the religious sense. I'm talking about grace like, David, if you ever said anything to me, I've got that I kind of went, right? I mean, which you haven't, but if you did, you
I
know,
might have. I might have.
yeah, right. It's where we go, you know what? That person must have had a bad day. I think the thing about grief is it can teach us we have all had a bad day. I yelled at the water department lady. She had nothing to do with my grief, okay? She didn't, but I reamed her over the coals for cutting off my water for the bill that I had sitting on my desk. But it wasn't her fault. And I think it's the same thing for the grieving. We can look at another grieving person and go, that person does not understand me at all, right? They
Right.
don't understand me. But at the same time, oh man, the pain that person must feel, you
Right.
know? So we're kind of all in this shoveling. We're all shoveling to get out of a hole together.
And everyone plays a different note. For this
Mm,
person, I always say I speak many languages.
mm,
My family's Jewish and evangelical Christian. My kids went to Catholic school. I worked in a Catholic hospital. I went to a Catholic university, and my best friend's atheist. I mean, I know all those languages, and it is amazing for any of us that work in this field. When you are sitting in the presence of someone who is atheist or agnostic, you realize how much comfort we do with God and religion. That when
mm,
suddenly you're like, oh, I can't say that, I can't say that, you realize, oh, I got to develop some more tools here to meet this person where they are and who they are. Because, in the group here, we want to honor everyone. So I'm glad you're here with us. And, some people are going to say wrong things to us all.
But
Uh,
David, David, on that note, you know what the thing is we all have in common on this group? And it's not religion, it's love.
right.
We grieve because we love. And love is the common language. It crosses every religion, every agnostic, every person who is grieving. We grieve because we love. And that's the common language right there. And if we can all focus on the love, which includes, you know what? You may not grieve the way I do, and I may not grieve the way you do, but we all love our person that has died. I have to believe with my heart that we're going to end up somewhere, looking out for the other person because the pain of losing someone we love is the bond, not what toothpaste you use,
Right.
or
Right.
10 other things.
If you have a question for Diane, please write it. And while they're maybe doing that, I want to just, and listen, one of the reasons when we talk about all these things that I wanted to have different people at night, there are a million voices in grief.
Mm.
My voice is not the right voice. It's not the only voice. There's a million. And that's why I wanted to bring so many people together. Um, I love that a number of people are saying, someone said, I'm having a hard time. Lorraine said, finding my tribe. I'm in support groups and grief counseling and trying to reach out to others. I feel so isolated. I'm ready to begin to find my new life with joy and purpose. And so many people are going, we are your tribe. I just love that.
Mm.
That's so sweet. Someone, Carla goes, love is the common language. Grief is love.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jeannie says, one of the most difficult things for me through this grief is that my other children, adults, want me to be okay. They are experiencing their own pain at losing their sister, but they also feel they lost the old me. I try my best each and every day.
This hits close to home. So I would say if you try your best each and every day, that's that's all you can do. And I want you to know I hear you. I went through something similar. I do have a surviving child who's now in her mid 20s. And it wasn't pretty, because that not only did I lose my son, she lost her brother, she lost the mom she knew, I lost myself. There were so many losses. The me that I knew died that day. The me that she knew died that day. The brother she knew died that day. The son I knew died that day. I mean, it was unbelievable. And only in the last, year or two have I really come to understand the magnitude of the number of losses and the complexity of the losses. And I will tell you quite honestly, I mean, like I said, I'm a no holds barred kind of person, that Lawson died 15 years ago. And I still, from time to time, stand outside looking at the sunset like I did tonight before we were going to do this, looking for wisdom and guidance. And I still mourn the loss of the type of relationship that I had with my daughter. I still mourn deeply the loss of the spontaneous, joyous me that was available, 15 years ago. I miss me, but I'm trying to. This is where she does this.
So
This
cute.
is where, I prepared. But this is where, um, I think that it's a commonality we all have. So to those people that are writing in saying, I'm looking for my tribe, my other children want me to be happy, I would say, keep at it, keep at it, keep at it, and know that you're not alone in this journey, that a lot of people lose their relationships with their other children. There isn't a bumper sticker for it. And there, even in some of the larger grief groups, the national ones, there isn't a recognized group for this, by the way. So feel free to message me at any time, or message David, and I will gladly listen to you on this topic, because it's very near to my heart, and I'm sorry that you're going through this.
And one of the things I say that I think you just pointed out is that I say to people about these night sessions, I said, Diane's going to be on. Even if you haven't had a child that died, grief is so universal.
Mhm.
Pain is so universal. Our loss is unique. But I don't care who died. What you just said about we lost our old self. I mean, I'm assuming most people on here, no matter who died for you, you feel like, yeah, that person I was is gone.
It's sad.
It,
It's sad.
yeah.
It still makes me sad. I'll tell you a true story. So I'm single, I date, and I was in a relationship, and this guy walked into my house, and I don't know, he said, "Hey, can I go to the restroom?" And on the way was my closet door, and it was open. And he looked in my closet like, he said, "Do you realize that most of your clothes are black, brown, taupe, and gray?" And my head went down in shame. And I said, "Not really, but I guess it's true." I said, "I wasn't always like that. I used to wear flowers a lot and bright colors." This is my one orange sweater, by the way. You know, so I think what you're feeling about losing your tribe and not adjusting to who you are, this newer you, I would say, please be kind to yourself, because it took you how many decades to get to where you were when you lost your child or husband. It's going to take a long time to move into this next whoever you are. And it almost always does change for people. You're just going to have to work at it, and that's not easy. Sorry, I'm grabbing Abby's treat bag.
All right. It's all good. It's all good. That's the beauty of the live here. Um, yeah, people are resonating with that I lost being the adoring daughter to my mom. I grieve that version of me. And we do have to do that. Patricia says, absolutely. My husband died and I lost myself. My daughters lost their mom I used to be. And, I want to witness people's loss. That sadness, just like you said, we have to feel it of who we were, but it doesn't mean that there cannot be a whole person in our future.
Absolutely. Because you know what, David? Here's the thing that grief also does, and I'm just going to throw this out there to you guys. There's a part of me that says, you know what? I'm great talking about my grief and being really real and transparent. But I got to tell you, there's a part of me that said, don't F with me because you know what? My kid died and I got this. I am not going to fall apart because of whatever. All right. Like, no, I am stronger because of my grief. I'm not this train wreck because of my grief. So stop labeling me as some train wreck of a person because my kid died. Okay. I'm not. I am getting through this. I have a spine. I'm really strong. I'm still standing. You will too. And now you get to make some decisions. You can put your cray cray on and wear your tutu if you want. Because you know what? You've been through some stuff and you're going to come out of it stronger, not weaker. And I would say to those people that think that you're going to come out weaker and, a train wreck or whatever, really.
And it's so true that, we have to have that compassion for ourselves that,
Mm,
when people go, I'm weak, I'm crying, I'm this, so they say I'm not strong. I'm like, oh my gosh, you should tell them I'm breathing. You have no idea what I've been through.
yeah.
And so many times, whenever I hear someone go, oh, well, my sister, her child died, and now, she's this, she's that. I'll go, and you can just hear the judgment. And sometimes I'll go, so how did you get through it when your child died? Well, my child hasn't died. Oh, well, let me tell you. Let me tell you, your sister might be doing really well.
Yeah.
Sister might be doing, and the other thing is I think, self-compassion is so, we don't know how to do it. And I'll tell you, look, I have now written, I spend 90% of my time helping people deal with the what ifs, if onlys, the
Mhm.
regrets, the if we could have changed one thing, they'd still be here. Did I do this wrong? I mean, I spend most of my time working with people, figuring and helping them get through that. And the other night, a what if about my son hit me, and something I felt like, oh, I wish I could have a do over there. And I
Mm,
burst into tears.
mm,
And there was my mind immediately goes to, what do you tell other? And I went, just let yourself have this moment.
mm,
Just let yourself just cry. And I
mm,
notice, because I try to pay attention to words, just then how I wanted to say, I let myself have a breakdown. It's not a breakdown.
mm,
It's love. It's grief.
mhm,
And I think we have to find the compassion
mhm.
to allow ourselves to do that.
Oh, absolutely. And be kind and gentle to ourselves. We are the worst to ourselves. We say things to ourselves we would never say to another human being on the planet. Seriously, I'm a loser. I'm whatever. I didn't do this right or that right. The self-talk. So here's one of my hacks. I'm a hack person. I like all these hacks, right? So as a hack, I write myself a sticky note and I put it on the when I feel like I'm going through a phase. In fact, let me see if I have it. I have one on my desk usually. Here. So it's got my passwords on it, but I'll fold that back.
Yeah, don't show us your passwords. I don't know that we'll see it, but let's see.
Yeah,
We
you
might
will, you
read
will,
it.
you will, you will.
You are perfectly imperfect. Oh, isn't that great? Love God. Yeah.
Yeah,
And for the
because
non-religious person, it doesn't even have to have the God part on it. You are perfectly imperfect,
you're and I put that on a picture. It sits on a picture frame, on my desk while I'm working. Because I too, like you guys, am prone to every now and then say, you know, what if? No, you know what? We're all trying to, we get up in the morning, we try to do the best job we can, and we're perfectly imperfect. I know I keep trying to be the best person that I can be. So I think intent is a lot of it.
I have to always say to myself, progress, not perfection.
Amen.
Progress, not perfection, you know? So, Dianne, it just time flies with you. It's the way it is. So, how can people reach out to you? How can they find you? And by the way, you and I are going to be doing something about Elizabeth Kubler-Ross on
Yes.
her page.
Yes.
Whenever I mention her name, I want to tell people stage is not linear. We'll talk about that in our other session.
Yeah.
So tell us how to find you and how to keep in touch with you for anyone who wants to.
I do a lot on
And to know more
Facebook.
about you. Mhm.
So on Facebook, it's Dianne, Diannegray, Dianne Barrett and Dianne Gray. I also have a page, it's Dianne Gray. I think it's Death and Grief Doula. Or on Instagram, Dianne, B as in boy, Gray. So it's at Dianne B. Gray on Instagram, and you can DM me, or on Twitter, it's the same thing. So, you can, I answer myself because these stories that people send in are heartfelt, and I always respond. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah, I think it's always funny once in a while I get an email and someone's like, tell me your team. And I'm like, team? 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 Where's this team at you're talking about? But anyway, I mean, it's grief. We're all sort of just doing this ourselves. It's funny. There's no
Yeah.
team. But anyway, Dianne, I love you. You are wonderful. Thank you so much. We'll be seeing you again here, and I'll be on the Kubler-Ross page with you soon. And
Wednesday.
thank you for all you do, really, in the world. You are a gift to so many. Everyone, just know these are on every night. I'm here with different people. Tomorrow night, I believe, let me see, I think tomorrow night I'm going to be listing these and putting these up. I haven't put them up yet. But I'll just tell you this week, we're going to have Ben Decker, who wrote a book on meditations, going to be joining us. And he had a dear friend who died by suicide that he'll be talking about that. Tanya Wright from Orange is the New Black is going to talk about her loved one who died. We're going to have Tom Zuba here, who had a tragedy with his wife and then 2 children who died. And all these people are sharing their story, their courage, what they've learned, their experience, their inspiration. Melissa Rivers is going to come on to talk about the death of a parent, Joan Rivers, obviously. So a lot of amazing people are going to be joining us. I'll be putting a list up. And I'm here every day at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. If you want to find your local time, because some of you are in Australia, I see, put in the timezoneconverter.com. Just put in 1 p.m. Los Angeles, you'll find your time. And I'll be seeing you really soon, tomorrow night. Dianne, thanks again.
Thank
All
you.
of you. Thank you for supporting one another. So now we got about 12 hours for you guys to all help each other till we get back together again. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you.